Sean here. I'm doing a small recap. This is for my personal archive only. I've started to make a video recap of all of my past week. We are Saturday the 11th, so I backed up the date, the 1st of July. So we'll start off with TTOO. In general, my trading has been doing good. I have been overpassing my hesitation, getting in onto my entries, my setups, and just jumping in the trades and just following the rules. To be honest, so we'll start off with TTOO. TTOO popped up last Thursday, gapped up overnight. I normally trade stocks that I try to stay above 2.5 to 3 million float. I don't trade anything under that. If I do, there has to be a ton of dilution, and there has to be like some really nice daily resistance levels, like very clear. TTOO was a good candidate that came up into my criterias. So it gapped up here at 7 o'clock on the dot. So it made a nice pennant here, as you can see. Made a high, lower high, lower high. So then I did around this area, I was identifying, saying if this thing drops and pops back up, it'd be almost like a three wave if you like, but there's like not a three wave, just like a pop, pop, pop. It goes to this resistance here. So I took a feeler short. I was actually only risking literally 10 cents because I was just afraid if this curls back up and want to retest this 240 and go for a new breakout. So we identified the weakness, shorted here, right above VWAP, which I wasn't too comfortable. So I was really had my finger on the hot key to get out on this position. Like I said, I'm only in with a feeler size pizza money, and then our main goal is to cover here, on the 200 moving average. If I was getting short higher, my first target would have been the J lines. Before, what I used to do is like cover everything, you know. But now what I'm doing is I'm trying to work. Jay's working with me there now. Is to, if I'm getting in with like a good size or a feeler size for pre-market, cover half on the J lines or cover half here on the 200 moving average. But since we're so close to the J lines, I couldn't just cover here for what 8 cents, not even 10 cents. So to me, to make sense, any sense, that's a good joke. So I covered half here, out half, and then what I do that right then and there, I usually put my stop to break even. I had a stop here, so soon to come and retest the J lines here. And to be honest, this felt like an open play because it went to the J lines, stuffed, and then came down, recracked the 200 moving average, and then I covered out, trimmed out more here. I didn't cover everything, which I was very happy on this setup. The way that I identified that price level was this low here pre-market. So this 205, 206. So I had a fishing order here for that price. Went right to it, boom, came down a bit more. So then it started to go sideways lateral, regain the J lines here. So at this point, I was still in some, but I forgot about those shares. I just like left them alone. So, and right then and there, literally between like 9:30, what I usually do is that when I see that has a good gap down, what I do with Jay is we take a percentage pullback to the open, and we had like 12%. You can see we have like 12% here written up here. So we have 12%, so it's not a huge pullback. We wanted to see 17 or more. Like I wanted to see it die, like down to here, and then it would be a nice gap and crap. But this was more of a gap and extension play that we're looking for because we only had a 12% pullback before the gate, before the open. So then what I usually do is I go from the top of pre-market to the lower pre-market, and I would normally want to scale into this section here, the Fibonacci retracement, the 50-61 zone. But since we were reclaimed the J lines before the bell and we were like hovering over under, I wasn't going to start scaling this area. So I says, you know what? I was coming back from a slowish bad week. So what I did is let this ticker prove to me its weakness and start nailing it backside. And that's what I did on this play here. So I took a feeler, I identified this stuff with this candle, and at this section here was just like red on the tape, red. So I took a feeler starter, and then I took another, I added to that position, and since like it flushed in the J lines here, I trimmed some out. I forget how much, I think a third or a half, I'm not sure. Then it came down to the 200 moving average on the 5 minute here, which is a 1,000 if you want. it's a 1,000 on the one. So this is where I normally like take it all off. But here, what I did is I trimmed and I held some on, and then it came back out, and I says, you know what, I'm out. I stopped myself out here. What we could have done is that before 10:10, well, it was like 10 o'clock, we could have scaled in here. This was maybe my weak play. I could have maybe recycled some shares here. We did identify the big drop here, so I could have like recycled some of the shares that I covered here and hold on to this, you know. But it already touched the 200 on the 5 minutes, so to me this was like out of play. But it did go down like what to 150, which had been a nice like all day bleeder. But hey, there's always room for improvement. That's why I'm making these videos. Next ticker we had was UAVS. I traded this pre-market. UAVS. This was a nice trade during pre-market. I identified again, we saw a high. I'll get rid of these lines here. Remove these drawings. So identified this high here. Boom, came down, and this is like the first pop here. Feeler. We saw red on this level here at 165, 170. So I nailed it on that second candle. So it came up here, and it was just like red. I just took a feeler. Like I'm saying, pizza money. We're pre-market. Jay praises that we should never load the boat, which I learned a long time ago. Pre-market is another game, another setup, another way to trade this. So I had my finger on the trigger here to stop out, literally another 10 to 15 cents. I was feeler size, so I can risk a bit more. So I saw this support, and then when I nailed this here, when it cracked support, I said, okay, I'm going to trim some here, half of the J lines. Usually would have covered everything. So I left half on. And then once I saw this here reclaim, I says, you know what, I don't want to risk anything. I took it off. I don't know why I took it off, but it was a good thing because it didn't reclaim the VWAP. And then we saw volume coming back in, and it's just grinded out to retest this high of pre-market and slam down to the J lines. So at this point here, I was saying, okay, again, what are we going to do? We're above the J lines. Really not my setup. I'm looking for this thing like to crack the J lines and stay below the J lines before the open. So then I would, like, if it would pop into the J lines, I would short it and look for some more downside. But this is another setup. We bounced off the J lines. We're above the J lines here. We're above the J lines. So what are we looking for? We're looking for an extension, right? And this thing did trade a lot. No, it didn't. No, it was wrong ticker. Sorry. So at the open, it grind, stuffed, and then down. I said, oh shit, I think I missed it. So at this point, I'm saying, okay, what are we doing? We're above the J lines. We saw weakness, selling, people taking profit here. Boom, came out of the J lines. Went back up. Couldn't break this high here. Couldn't break this high. So I says, this is it. This is game over for this piggy. So just let it wait to come down to the J lines, let it crack, bounce off the 200, and I took a short here into the J lines, which was 162. I got filled. Very happy on this. As soon as I'm in the trade, I always look for profit taking. Where am I going to take profit? Well, I got to put my stop as well too. So if this one would have popped over the J lines, again, I had my finger on the oh shit hotkey to get out if ever this popped over the J lines of VWAP. Because look, we had a high, lower high. So I was looking to like come into this area here, this 160, 165, 170 area, but it didn't. So just we bounced off, stuffed into the J line. So I took it short, and like I said, I was really risking very small here, because I didn't want this to curl back up and push. That's always our nightmare. So I identified here the low of pre-market, which was 148. So I'm always looking to go to these areas. But it didn't. I'll show you the chart a bit later on. So what we did is that I covered here, as I normally do, is I trimmed out on the 200 moving average. Right away. I always do that. I always do that. I mean, Jay preaches this every day. Take profits, pay yourself, take some off the table, put some in your wallet, don't give it back. And as soon as I took profit here, I was saying, okay, when I always do this, I always tell myself, where are you going to stop out if this thing reclaims the J lines? Well, I want to stop out before the J lines. Hey, it's kind of normal. And this is kind of I wouldn't say a mistake on my part. If I was nailing this average in this area here, I wouldn't have put my stop right here above. In mentoring with Jay last week, we had a serious conversation on these setups exactly. Is the reclaim of the J lines, like between 10, 10:30, reclaim of the J lines, and fake out. You know, it didn't even want to test this level here, so it popped, stuffed, opened red, slam, and then it was game over for this piggy. So this was exactly, but since I had such a weak average, I didn't want to go and like give back these gains. So I was just playing defense, to be honest. So I put a really like a 2 cent in the money risk, and I got stopped out, which was happy. I also identified this here, the support. So I knew something was about to boil. Unless this was going to stuff into the J lines again and roll over, which didn't, so it reclaimed. So I think I did well on this one. It wasn't a big, I'd rather put my stop out and get stopped out than have this thing rip against me and saying, oh, I'm going to try to catch the top again and give back all these gains here. So that was my idea on that trade there. So that was pre-market and the open. The next circle we had is AIHS. AIHS was a good trade for me. Again, there's still room for improvement. So this was a grinder, and we identified whenever we have a grinder, we identify the trend. What was the identification? So higher, higher, low, higher, low. So obviously it was playing off this trend. So I said, you know what? At the open, we saw this stuff, and every time it came to this level here, the tape just went like bloodbath red. Then came down red, and then red, and then came back up red, and then green, red, and then so I'm saying, okay, we really got weakness up here. We got sellers. So, and also I think 230 was also on the daily resistance. I'm not sure what it was. So I nailed this on the trend break. Easy starter position, nothing big. I'm not loading the boat here. It's not my setup because my setup is I want to see this crack the J lines before 930. So this is like an extension gap. We had profit taking here, boom. So on this first wash under VWAP, I wouldn't say I was in a feeler size here. I was in a pretty good position size here. Okay, I'm trying to step up my shares a bit during like these big extensions. So I was in with a nice size here. Usually I would have been smaller. So that first crack, boom, I took some off. I trimmed out. I think I trimmed like a third or a half out here, which should have been taking some off on the J lines and the 200. That's my normal play. So when I trimmed here, I trimmed when it regained VWAP with like we had a lot of volume here. We had 2.7 million on this candle. So this thing was flying. Level 2 was flying, and I didn't feel really comfortable. This is not my setup. I saw it curling. I saying, what if this wants to go and retest, 226? I would have been screwed. I would have been losing this gain here. So I says, you know what? Play defense. So I trimmed out half here. Okay. Then it came down, and it says, you know what? We're approaching 10. We're curling on the J lines. I'm up nice here. I played defense here. I lost a bit here. And then, boom, it slammed, and I took it all off. And that was my trade for there. It was 10 a.m. I didn't want to wrestle this thing all day. And I was up nice. So, why stick around for this? And it eventually went and just like failed down, but I could have held on to this. But this is why I'm making these videos. I should have been holding on more. I could have took a partial here and leave like a partial on for the whole day. But, there's always room for improvement. Then we had BGFY. We had BGFI and we had BGI. BGI was, I didn't take it, and I was so frustrated. This was on Thursday. We had two tickers. We had BGI and we had BGFI. These two tickers. So these two tickers during pre-market were ramping up. There was literally, when I was looking for locates, when I could find them, they were like 20 cents a share. I'm like, you know what, screw you. I'm not going to like pay $100 or $150 or $200 for my locates. That's not my style. I want to get them normal price. So, and at the time here, we were seeing no locates. All no locates, no locates. So when this thing was ramping up, I want to say, okay, what if I would have played this? Where would you get in, Sean? So what we do is we take a retracement here from high to low. Boom, we have 45%. So this is a perfect gap and crap. So we're looking to short the J lines. I have a hesitation of taking the J line rejection, okay? I really do. The J lines and I just don't dance together. I rather pierce and go into my levels here, which is a lower risk, instead of like, I could have took it here. I know some guys in the chat room did take this stuff here. But look, it came down. You have to be really fast. So up, down, take profit, and put your stop right away. So this would have been like an emotional trade right here for me. So I didn't want to get involved in this, if I did have shares. What I was really looking at was my golden zone. And I've been tracking this for a while there now. So what I do is I take the high of day to the low of day, pre-market, sorry. And then I'm looking for a retracement into this. And look at this sweet play. Look at this, really nice. stuffed into this consolidation area, also to this consolidation area right here. This is beautiful. This would have been my A plus. I would have been scaling into the 180, 185, 190, and then I would have cut it over 2 because 2 would have been that, that psychology number that people want to short into or profit taking. People saying, look, I'm going long from the 175 and I'll take profits off at 2, So this was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you would have missed this, at least come and get this second pop here. This is an A plus setup for me, but there was no locates, so no use to get to pout about it. I didn't have any locates. Then we had BGFY. By then I was kind of emotional on this one that I totally missed this setup. Well, there's no locates. What do you want? And if there was, I'd probably been paying a good dime for them. BGFI was also on my radar that day, which I was looking more for a pullback or like a push up into this level here, which would have been this consolidation. Well, either this consolidation here or this one here. So this could have been this whole consolidation area here. So I was looking for the push into that zone, but it didn't happen. So again, came down right before the open, into the J lines, and at this point here, I was like, shit, why are you taking it, Sean? And when this stuffed here, I'm saying, okay, you missed it. And it came down, and then it came back up, and I'm saying, oh, okay, you should have took, this was like, wake up, idiot, this is your entry, get in, or else I'm leaving without you sort of thing. So this would have been a nice setup. I was totally bummed out on Thursday because I have no locates on BGI, and also I missed this trade here, so basically at 10:30, I was out. I left it. I turned everything off. And then, so Thursday, no trade. So Friday, good thing this thing gave me a second chance. I've been tracking, Nico has been really doing well on day 2 gap downs. And he's been, showing me the ropes on how to get in, where to size in, where to risk, where to take profits. So to be honest, this was at 7 o'clock. I'm usually getting her early, 6:30. I'm waking up, the computer is firing up. So Nico and I talk to each other daily. So at this time here, like at 6:30, we're planning out, look, what's good for day 2. And he's saying, Sean, BGFV is setting up for a day 2. So it's gap up overnight, gap down. So we're looking for the 3-minute J lines rejection and putting our stop rate over here. So 280. I was looking for this candle here, to be honest. I wasn't going to risk like this 285-ish level here, this consolidation area. I was literally risking this candle or this candle. I was going to get out. So I nailed it here, 272 on this J line rejection here. So the wick, I nailed it here. So immediately I put my profit taking on this candle here. So right here, this was our low of pre-market, and right here I got filled half. So I trimmed it out half. And then I think when it reclaimed just before here, I took it off. I identified the support. So I was saying if this thing is just making higher lows, so it made sense to me to take it off and protect my trade. I wasn't up big. It was nothing to really brag about. It's piece of money again. Like I said, it's a new. This is a new setup for me that I'm taunting this setup here. And I thank Nico for this because he's doing great on these setups. We wanted to see more like rollover before the bell, but anyways, one of these days we'll catch an offering maybe, or I'm glad that I'm taking these setups. So when the bell rang, I was looking at this. I wanted this to go into this area here. We had I think 275, 280, 290 to like load it in this area here for this consolidation here. But it didn't happen. It just, and the rule of thumb is that it has to happen within the first 2 minutes when the bell rings. So what happened when the bell rang? It flushed. So to me, this is like out of game. We don't want to like try to reshort the J lines or the 3-minute J lines. To me, this is out of play. So then and there, I had my profits here, and right then we had retro popping. We had this on the radar as well. Retro popped up, gapped up overnight, and I was looking for this zone here. I was just so ready for this zone, and at this time, we had a good pullback. We had how much percentage here? We had we had 25% pullback. So this is an A+ setup for me. We're looking for a gap extension, not a gap and grab on this. This was the actual play for it, and I was looking to load into the zone here, which was this consolidation. It did pop here, so this support, crash support, retest, and failed. But this was the zone, my golden zone I was really looking for. But this happened so fast. At this point here, I was looking for locates, reserve them, and then I said I'm gonna load into this like 185, 190, and like load the boat in this 210 area. I want to see wick can come down. This would have been a nice all-day trader. But this just one popped up, wicked, slammed. I was like, oh shit, you missed it. This is it, it's game over. So what are we gonna do? We know that it's going to the J lines, and we know it's going to the 200 moving average. So why not just get the hell in, baby, feeler, see I wrote feeler. So feeler here, and I was just protecting. If this was gonna pop into this area, I would have maybe added, but if this would have ramped up, I would have cut it. So I would have maybe added on the pop here because it could have been a J line curl. So I nailed it here with feeler. And I took half here on the 200 moving average on the 1 minute, so 143-ish, 144. And at this point here, I'm saying, you know what? What is our rules? We got to hold it. And I know Nico was texting me saying, hold it, be patient with this. I'm like, okay, I'll be patient with it. So I took half off here, so I took my profits, and then I'm putting my stop out. I really wanted to pop though into the J lines. I really wanted this like to come curl, pop into the J line so I can recycle or re-add. And then, curl this down for the 200 moving average to where it really went. And I just had an order here. Well, the 200 moving average was actually here 130, 132, 131. Yeah, it was 131. I took my profits here because it was a 1,000 moving average. But if you do pop open a 5-minute chart, you can see it went down here to boom to the 120, 130. But then, anyways. We're talking a couple of cents here, so that was it for my trade from the 1st of July. It's doing very good. There's still room for improvement. Have to be more patient. That's what I have to do. Be more patient with my trades. Make sure that I'm not scaling into over my golden zone, because if we do pierce this golden zone, we're gonna want to retest like this 78% level, fib extension level, and we're gonna probably want to retest, the high of pre-market. If we break high of pre-market, breakout traders are going to come in, and we're going to get blown away. So got to be careful. So that's what to look up for this week. Be more patient. Identify the day 2 gap down setups, and just get in the trade and have confidence in ourselves. All right, thanks for listening, everyone.